welcome to another video of Doing, Being, Becoming, where we aim to inform, impact, influence, and inspire. I am Asisipo Tota, your occupational therapist, and today I walk not alone. Also, if this is your first time on this channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Do the necessary things, like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch our other videos. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you very much for returning. I hope that you are sharing and that everybody in your circle knows about this channel. On this channel, we aim to improve your knowledge of occupational therapy. Not only that, we also aim to improve your awareness of what occupational therapy is and also your mental health. So today I am with Rakhadi. Mangwani, which one is it?
It's Mangwani.
Mangwani.
Yes.
Today I am with Mangwani. It's actually not her name. It's an inside joke. I'm actually with Mathabo Ndumo today. But I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself and who she is.
Hi everyone. My name is Mathabo Ndumo. Like as he has said, I'm also an occupational therapist in a rural hospital in the Eastern Cape.
Okay, so how I came to know Mathabo, how we know each other, is I did my conserve at the hospital that she is working at, and that's how we know each other. So you are working in a physical setting,
Yes.
and currently I'm working in a mental health setting. So that's why we are here today, is to contrast and compare what OT looks like in a physical setting and also in a mental rehab setting. But before we get into that, Mathabo, you've been practicing for how long now?
This is my third year.
Okay.
Yes.
And in those 3 years, how would you sum up your experience of OT? Is it what you expected?
My first year, which was community service year, I was doing it in KZN. It was a very rewarding experience, I would say, because I got to work with the rural community in a community health care center, which is an outpatient center where people come to the center and then you see them on their days of appointments. And we also had to do home visits to different homes. So I worked in a team of speech therapy. There was also a physiotherapist as well, and audiologist. So it was a very consolidated rehab team, and we did a lot of home visits, and we went to other, even further rural clinics. So we did not just concentrate on our centers. So what I learned through that experience is that occupational therapy really changes lives, because if you go to someone's home and you really see how much they're struggling to do certain things, then it means whatever changes you're going to recommend, they are going to practice it in their area where they actually stay, where they live. So I found that very rewarding. That was when I did community service. And then
also, you can actually, like, sorry to cut you, you can actually see what the patient is working with, you know?
Yes.
Instead of them telling you, oh, like, and I've got like 3 steps, but you can actually see that, like, oh, they're actually 3 wide steps, they're 3 narrow steps, it's 3 high steps, you know? So
yes, definitely. And last year, which was my second year working as an occupational therapist, I worked at the same place as you. So we were both new. So we experienced everything together. So I worked in a hospital setting where now, in contrast to the previous placement, now it's more of an inpatient center. Yes, there is also an outpatient facility where people come on appointment basis, but now we still see patients within the hospital, those that are admitted, and help them with their ADLs, whatever they're struggling with, which of course maybe I shouldn't even compare it, because I think it's very different. In the hospital, you meet people when maybe their injury or their illness is still very, very acute. So even your approach, even how you treat the clients is very much different from when you were to meet them at an outpatient center, because when you meet them at an outpatient center, it means they have been discharged from the hospital. It means medically they are stable, but when you meet clients in the hospital, not all of them are at a stable medical state. So there's a lot of things that you have to take into account, because obviously you're trying to take them from one point to another. You're basically starting from scratch. There's nothing to work on, so you're just building your trust from it's very, very important, because now you're building trust. You are trying to impart hope to this particular person that despite of everything that has happened, he is still alive. This is your new normality. This is your new way of doing things, and even as you go home, this is what you are expected to do. So I think it was quite a different experience, but equally rewarding as well.
So you said briefly that you don't want to compare the two, but if you really had to compare the two,
if I had
like
to
explicitly, like how would you compare the two? Like working in KZN, we also have like more home visit experience, and also working in a different province, and where home visits are like far and few in between, and outreaches are also a little of a challenge, and also now with COVID as well. But
yes, I must say with where I'm currently working, there's still opportunities for outreach. There's still, I believe, opportunity for home visits, although they're very minimal. It's not in the same frequency that we used to do them before, but there's still definitely opportunities to do that. But maybe like comparing the whole experience from KZN to coming to the Eastern Cape, there's a lot of factors. The cultures are very different. The cultures are very, very different. KwaZulu-Natal, as you have it, it's mostly Zulu speaking people, and in contrast, Eastern Cape is mostly Xhosa speaking people. But obviously other languages are still spoken, English and Sesotho, but it's a very, very it's a small minority of people who speak other languages. So even how people do things, obviously it's different owing to beliefs and values and all of that. So when I came to the Eastern Cape, it's one of the things that I had to learn, you see. So I think being in KZN, that gave me exposure, actually, because you meet people in their natural setting. When you meet people in the hospital and when you meet people at home, it's a completely different setting. So it was much easier to understand people and their contexts and where they are actually coming from in KZN than it is right now in the Eastern Cape. Well, it's not impossible, but it's not very easy, because you meet in a hospital. There's a whole lot of protocols that you have to observe, so it sort of creates that barrier. But obviously there are other opportunities as well to learn.
Okay. Going off of those opportunities to learn, because often like with therapists, we work very closely like with our patients, and they tend to leave a mark on you, like even like years later you remember like, oh, that patient did that, and so has there been such a patient where your encounter with them, whether it be the progress they had made or something they said to you, or just your interaction with them in general, that has left such a little mark on you that you will never ever forget?
Yes, definitely. At this moment, there's one client whose names comes to mind. I don't know if we can say that diagnosis or
you can just set the scene.
briefly, but amongst other things, it was a very young teenage girl struggling with I would say self-esteem. That was one of the main issues um, that led to the condition that she was admitted for in hospital. And she was really, really struggling, and she was suicidal. She wanted to take her life because, she was bullied. And she really believed that I'm very ugly, I'm not worthy to be on this earth. There was just a whole lot of negative aspects that were coming from her. So we saw her in therapy. I saw her in therapy for occupational therapy, mainly to help her with, coping, to help her with the suicidal ideation, which initially, one of the reasons I remember her very well is because initially it was a matter of we need to just get her to relax, maybe just do some exercises to calm her down, or just do some activities just to engage her. And it seemed like, it seemed very hopeless because all these thoughts, all these suicidal ideations came through in the sessions. You do an activity for like 10 minutes, or after 5 minutes you're like, oh, okay, let's just reflect on what we did. How did you feel about that? And she just tells you that those voices are still telling me to take away my life. And I felt so defeated, in the initial phase of our therapy. But as time went on, she got discharged from the hospital. Even then, I was still very worried that when she goes home, she'll actually attempt, to take away her life. But then she came back as an outpatient, for her follow up, and we kept on doing therapy. And one time she came back for one of her sessions, and I was amazed. Everything had just changed, and I was surprised because now she took charge. All the negative things that had been said about her, she turned them into positives. That, oh, okay, I was told that I'm dark, but I can actually see that with this beauty I can be, a model. I can see that, I'm unique, yes, in as much as I'm, this dark, but I'm unique. And and we just came down and we sat down to say, okay, look, now you're almost in your last year of school. What are you planning to do with your life? And we just sat down and we did, she told me what her goals were. And it was really amazing to see her transition from someone who wanted to take away her life to someone who now wants to put her life together, trying to find her career path. She's even thinking of, not only a course to study, but where to study it, and the advantages of, maybe doing that particular course at such a university versus another one. It was like, wow, this is amazing.
Wow, that's a really great turnaround and a success story. So looking at how her situation turned around, what do you owe her change to? Do you owe it fully to therapy? Do you owe it to her home environment? What do you particularly, what could you say was the defining thing that actually changed her perception of things?
I think it's just some of the things that it's not a very easy question to answer because, as a therapist, there's a point at which you cannot say that this is because we did, and that maybe whatever activity that we did to boost her, self-esteem, maybe it is because we looked into the future, maybe we addressed certain childhood issues, or maybe we referred her to psychology. There's no point that, like, there's no direct point at which I can say
there's no one
because she was also attending psychology. She was also attending psychology, so she was being seen by a medical doctor. I'm not sure about psychiatrist, but I'm not sure about that. So there's a couple of things that really that helped her in her journey. But I believe, I'm a firm believer in God, and I believe that God intervened in ways that I cannot understand. Yeah.
The reason I'm asking you that, Mathabo, is because as therapists, it can be very easy for us to either owe the success or the failure of our patients to ourselves. you know, irrespective of us putting in equal effort into the patients. So yes, we get success stories and they do motivate us, and they're actually important even for us to keep going forward, you know, and doing the same service to other people, you know, and actually proves that, okay, so if I did this way, it works, you know. So but it's very important to keep that sober mind and remember that yes, I'm doing this, but there's no guarantee basically that like what I'm doing is firstly going to help. And if I do see an improvement, yes, I can say that what I did contributed, but I can't say that it's the sole contributor to your improvement, you know. So yeah, I think it's just a way for us to keep ourselves in check, keep us humble, but also to keep ourselves motivated, you know, not to give up the good work, you know. So yeah, so it's actually very interesting because in the intro we mentioned that you work in a physical setting, but you know, with this beautiful story that you just told us now, it was more of mental intervention that you had to do because she was dealing with suicidal thoughts and self-esteem, and motivation and all of that. So obviously having worked in the same setting as well, I know that, you know, it's some physical and some mental as well. So then you'd be able to give us a clear picture of what the difference is with an OT working in a physical setting and an OT working in a mental setting.
Okay, I'll try.
You'll try. We'll try
I'll
together.
try.
We'll try
Yes, we'll
together.
try together because I'm not in a mental health care setting.
Yes.
Yeah, but being at a physical setting where I'm currently at, we get to see physical clients. We also get to see mental health clients. I would say most of the time we get to see physical clients more than we get to see the mental clients, but it doesn't mean we don't see any mental health patients. We still do, but although it's very rare, it's very few clients that we see. So when it comes to differences, are we talking about differences, right?
Yeah, well, obviously it's different because it's physical and mental. That's a difference.
Yes.
That's the main
Yes,
difference.
yes.
So in the physical side of things, what kind of patients do you see?
Oh, okay, yes. In the physical setting, we see clients of all age groups. Let me start there. We see children, we see teenagers, we see people of all age groups. We see people who present with different diagnoses, from strokes, from burns, from cerebral palsy. We see everything that is related to bones and muscles. We see all those different diagnoses and conditions. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things that would definitely set a mark between physical setting and mental health setting.
You see a few hands as well.
Yes, we do. Definitely, we do. I think it's a very rare thing, like in a mental health care setting, to see hands conditions. That's it. That's most of the time it's physical, occupational therapy condition. Yes.
Okay. So this is actually something that's very exciting for me. Okay. So one of my lecturers taught me I was in Boston. She said that the place or normally with like physical, okay, and this can be like up for discussion and we can do our own research on this, but she says that normally with physical injury, there's a mental situation that comes along with that. For example, if a person has like a hand injury, then that's significant of them losing control over their life, for example, But anyway, the point of this is just to show that yes, we can separate like the physical and the mental, but there's often like such a close link between the two. So with you, and we actually had like a very intense conversation about this behind the scenes, but sorry you can't see that. Anyway, so what would you say, or how have you seen the two play into each other, like the physical and the mental?
I think it's very difficult to separate them.
Mm-hmm.
In a real life situation, you cannot separate it. I like the example that you just pointed out, that someone could come with a hand injury, but you find that the main problem, what they're struggling with, is actually taking out their hand to greet other people because of how it looks. So now the problem is not with that deformity anymore. The problem now is how this person perceives their fingers or their hand as a whole. So the same goes with other different conditions, CVA, with spinal cord injuries. It has a great impact on the mental state of people. So we cannot really separate them. They go hand in hand. I think for the most physical clients that we see, there's always that mental component that we have to look into, definitely, all the time. Yeah.
Wow. So, Mathabo, you've been working as an OT for 3 years now. Quick question. Do you regret it?
No.
No. Okay, what's been your biggest lesson?
In occupational therapy?
Yes.
Okay, my greatest lesson is that what I've been taught in university is very, very different from the real life situation. So I think if you're able to actually bridge that gap, because I believe there is a gap from what we've been taught. Yes, there are practicals. Before we graduate, we have to cover a certain amount of clinical hours, but even so, it's not enough. So what you've learned in university does not necessarily translate into your future practice or whatever. So you need to understand, first of all, the current place where you're currently at, the hospital or maybe the clinic. Then you need to understand the people that you're serving. Then you need to understand yourself as well. Yeah, which I think it's not very, very emphasized when you're in university. You're still trying all you can to. It's very important, yes, to please our supervisors and lecturers so that we can pass. But in that process, there's so much of yourself that you lose if you're not aware. So I think moving out of university,
Mathabo is preaching today.
It helps you, get in touch with who you are and what you stand for as an occupational therapist. Because as occupational therapists that we are, we can get a client, but how we actually treat this client, for the fact that you are you and I am me, is going to be different.
Mathabo, thank you so much for coming onto this channel. Before we leave, is there any last bomb of wisdom that is still lodged inside of you that you would like to release to the O team?
Yeah, okay. This is something I've been thinking about, since the pandemic has started. Whoever you are, whoever you are listening this from, I think it's also something that I've said in this video. As a person, what do you stand for? Outside of everything that you have, or outside of the world that is around you. There's so much that happened with a lot of places being locked down, not being able to travel, not being able to meet certain people, not being able to do certain things. Outside of those things, what is your purpose as a human being? And most people, yes, we are scared of the coronavirus because we are thinking, what if I catch it, and die? I think the fear is, what if I catch it and die? If that happens, or if you die for any other reason, really, would you have achieved your purpose? Do you know what that purpose is? So I think my last message is, it's very important to find your goal, your purpose, what God intends for you to do with your life, and do it to the fullest, because time is running out.
Ooh,
Yeah.
time is running out. If you die from the coronavirus or any other thing, would you have achieved your purpose? That is the question that we are left with today. Please comment down below with your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching this video with us. There is nothing else that I can say. Yeah, thank you. In everything that you do, continue to do your best to do, be, and become. See you in the next video.